Excuse me.
You are gangsters. You're washed up.
And then they have a protest of Robert De Niro yesterday. He's a fool. He's a broken down fool standing out there, and he got MAGA'd. He got MAGA'd yesterday. He got a big dose of it.
Donald Trump popping off on the Biden campaign's De Niro stunt, which bombed harder than Robert's last 5 movies. The actor was outside the Trump courthouse, letting his undiagnosed Trump derangement syndrome get the best of him. And even the liberal media was embarrassed.
This was a bad idea. This entire thing was not a great idea.
Step away from celebrities. I don't think it helps. I think it kind of almost, in a weird way, sometimes backfires. Oh, those liberal Hollywood elites, and they're well-intentioned, and Robert De Niro is well-intentioned, but I think staying away from the courthouse would have been the best thing.
Morning Mika was taken aback by the raging tool and tried to get the Biden camp to backtrack.
American citizens are not supposed to politicize a court proceeding. And I feel the same way about the campaign. Is there any concern about the campaign getting a little bit too close to these court proceedings, and could that backfire? Any concerns? Looking back, was it a good decision?
No, there's no concern. This campaign is not speaking about the substance of the trial in any way, shape, or form. What we are talking about, what we talked about yesterday, and what we'll continue to talk about, is the unique threat that Donald Trump poses to our democracy.
All right, O'Leary, did the De Niro stunt backfire?
You know, I spent a fair amount of time out in Los Angeles with Hollywood types, and I've always said to entertainers to think this through. When you're an entertainer, and you're a great one, because I love that guy's movies, you don't want to get into this kind of narrative, because you're going to make unhappy 50% of the people that go to your movies. 50% are going to say, I didn't hire you to tell me who to vote for. I hired you to be a great actor. And he's a great actor. I think he hurt himself. He hurt his brand. And he's definitely got... What I was listening to that thinking to myself, you know what Biden should do? And, Judge, I know you're going to tell me technically this is impossible, but maybe he can do it and get credit for it. When and if Trump gets convicted of any of these charges, he should pardon him that second and clean the record and say, I'm a man that wants to compete on the merits of our policies. Let's start debating. That would lift him out of the garbage that he's involved in with this kind of De Niro stuff. Now, I know you can't do that because it's a New York.
You're right.
But can't he find some way to take credit for it by getting a higher power in New York to pardon this? This has hurt our brand. I've said it 5 times. But what's the right thing for Biden to do to clean up the fact that half the country thinks this is a politically motivated persecution?
I don't think the president is that big a man to do that.
But don't you think that would help him a lot?
It would absolutely help him, but maybe it would infuriate his base. The progressives, they'll go bonkers. Plus, there's no question he's behind this, given the fact that the number 3 at the Department of Justice, Colangelo, jumped down 3 steps to prosecute a local DA's case. You know, so I think the fingerprints are all over this. Plus, he's upset about what's going to happen to his son Hunter, so I doubt he's in a forgiving mood. But I got to tell you, I mean, I wish we lived in a country where that could happen. I do, but
it should happen.
It's not going to happen, and unfortunately. But if I can just, since I started, Jesse, a couple things. If you're bleeding young voters and minorities, you don't bring out De Niro. De Niro's the one who said last year, I'd like to punch this guy, you know, as if he's a gangster. And then he's calling the Trump people gangsters. And for this guy who brought him out from the Biden administration, Michael Tyler, to say, I'm not talking about the substance of the trial, they did it right outside the trial. I mean, who were they kidding? It's just, they are so hungry to attack Donald Trump. And this guy is just a loser. He had some great movies, I agree. But right now, he's a loser and he's past his prime.
And Greg, he loses his cool. It's one thing to read off a script, but then he couldn't handle the crowd at all.
It's a big letdown, you know? I know that he's not his roles, but come on, dude. I mean, Golden Girls have more testosterone than him. He's a butthole with eyes, and the worst part is he's blind. Here's the problem with this De Niro stunt. They trotted out the poster child for Trump derangement, but he doesn't just need a doctor. He needs a telethon I mean, he's got it. Where is Jerry Lewis when you need him? I know he's dead. But somebody needs to abduct this Rupert Pupkin and Depends, stage an intervention before he douses himself in Brill cream and sets himself on fire. He's beyond help. He had one bullet in the chamber and he shot himself in the face. He felt that this irrational, personal hatred was more important than the issues that America faces, all the things that we talk about, crime, immigration, China, the debt. And he's not said jack about that before this, and he will not say jack about it after, because this is a luxury hobby for people like him. He owns half of Lower Manhattan, you know, so he's aloof, he's well off. He can do this, and crime could rage all around him, and it won't matter. But it matters to us.
And the show that Joe watches every single morning, Dana, Morning Joe, obviously not happy with the strategy, was sending a message that not a good idea going forward.
I was thinking about that because we know that President Biden watches every morning. And when you've lost Mika and Donnie and they're saying, what a bad idea, he's probably going to blame somebody else. But I think that the Biden campaign, they're in a real fix. They've been very understated, but this is like one of their first big events.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to get attention for it, but it just seemed a little off. And the other thing is, I think Mike Tyler is a very good hire for the Biden campaign. I think he speaks well, and I think that he's been given direction, like this is where the campaign is going. And I'm just curious. I wish that they could share with us a little bit more of the data that they have that says that this messaging works for them.
Yeah.
Because it's not in any of the polls, mainstream polls. It's not in anything like coming from Carville or David Axelrod or people who really want Joe Biden to win. They're all saying this is not working. The whole Trump's going to destroy the world. That's actually not working. You guys need to talk about. But for some reason, the campaign keeps on that track. So I would love to know. Just show me a little bit of evidence that it makes sense. I think the point about the brand is really important. And one of the things to remember is that Joe Biden's team made it very clear that as soon as this verdict is given, that President Biden is going to give an official address from the White House. Mm-hmm. And it is definitely not going to be a pardon, because what he wants to say more than anything else is that Donald Trump, my opponent, is a convicted felon. And they will say that and hammer it, and they'll probably continue to lose in the polls unless they can figure out some other way to turn it around.
What if he's convicted of a misdemeanor, Judge? What do you call that?
A misdemeanant.
Oh.
Misdemeanant. My opponent is a convicted misdemeanant. Doesn't have the same ring.
But is that a felony under that situation? You can't call him a felon, right?
That's not a felony. If he's convicted of a lesser crime, misdemeanor, he's a misdemeanant.
Misdemeanant.
That's a great word.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've ever heard
you learned so much stuff watching The Five.
I'm getting a T-shirt that says misdemeanant.
Misdemeanant.
Yes.
Ahead, the liberal freakout continues. Joe and Kamala in a panic and trying to win back black voters who are flocking to Donald Trump. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.